Welcome back to traveler'sproc. Today we're joined by Yark. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Hark. It's good to hear from you as always.
Been a long travel back home. So
You having
Yes.
fun back home though? It's probably nice to be back home for a bit.
yeah, I have. I mean, at the beginning it was like weird because like 3 years, like almost like four, I think. Yeah, it was like three. In Georgia, and then all of the sudden I'm just back home. It's like, oh, but it's nice. It's nice seeing my little brother, my mom, my cats. So
Oh, that's awesome. Wait, how old's your brother?
he's 15.
Oh, okay, cool.
Nice. How was the trip with Arthur? You brought him with you too, right?
Yeah, I did. That was crazy. That was crazy.
How did he do? Was it hard or?
I mean, I think the like hardest part is like he's so heavy and you have to like carry him around like all the way. And for example, the Atlanta airport is huge. So
Yeah.
you need to be like walking around like all the time with him. And it's so funny because when you go through like through security, you need to
hmm
like take him out of the carrier to go
Oh,
with him.
really?
Yeah, and he's huge. So like literally you have like there is like a lot of people in line all the time. So you like take him out, you go through like the scan with the cat on your like arms, and he's like so freaking out like what is going on, but he was super chill. He
That's
like
That's
never like
good.
jump or run away or anything. Yeah.
that's so lucky that he was chill. My cats would
Yeah.
freak out. They'd freak out. I
Oh
think
my
maybe one of them would
god.
chill, but yeah, it would not be easy.
Was everybody asking you what kind of cat is that since he was so
Yeah,
big?
everyone was saying like he's so cute, like. And it's funny
Uh,
because I have to like go to like do different airports like scale, I think. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, and have to do that thing like three times, like to go through security with the cat, and it
Oh
was.
my god.
um,
You and Arthur had an adventure actually. That's
We
crazy.
actually did. We actually did. We leave Atlanta at 6 a.m. and we arrive home at 12. Yeah, 12, like 12 in the morning.
When you actually get on the plane, does he just like sit on your lap in the carrier, or what'd you do?
You put it under the chair. That is your like carry on.
Oh, okay. It fit under there.
Yeah,
That's good.
it does fit. Yeah.
Nice.
How long was the flights? Like, 'cause you had to take a couple flights, right?
I have to take two. And the first one was like 5 hours, like four. That is Atlanta, Bogota, and then I live in a city. Bogota is like the capital of my country,
Mhm.
and then I have to take Bogota, Barranquilla like later on. But that flight was like I arrived at Colombia at like 2 p.m. and my next flight was like 8. So I literally need to like stay. I have family there. Thank God, because I don't know what I'm gonna do with the cat on the airport the whole time. So
Yeah.
yeah, I went to like my grandma house and I let like her to walk around and chill and drink water because if not, probably he would go crazy. And he walk, he chill, I think he's really like exploring. He loves to like will walk around, like see everything, smell it, and I think he enjoyed the trip more than I did. So I think that's good.
That's good. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
To be fair, if he's enjoying the trip, you're a lot happier off. It'd be so
that's
bad
true
if he was
actually.
freaking out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. And then does does your mom and brother have any cats that he has to get along with? I know I saw some
Yeah,
pictures he posted.
yeah,
How'd
yeah,
that go?
yeah.
I know it's
Uh,
always rough at the beginning,
It
but
is, it is. Like my mom has like this like old time cat. She's like 14 years old. She's a lady and she hates everyone, so she doesn't like him at all. And there is other cat that is a boy too, and these two get are really like along. So they're super chill together. They even play, and now they're like they respect each other's space. I think that's how they're handling it now. So
that's good.
yeah.
My I had two cats at home. They just passed last year, but they both lived
Oh.
till like 21, and they hated each other all 21 years. They were
Wow,
sisters, and
crazy.
they never got along. It was so funny. They just disliked each other for whatever reason. I don't even know why. But as they got older, my brother was like the only one home, my youngest brother. So they would always go into his room and hang out in there, and one would sit on one side of the room and the other would sit in the other side of the room, and they would just
Yeah.
death glare each other across the room. It was pretty funny. but they're awesome cats.
Yeah, it
Uh,
sounds exactly how my cats are. Like, it took forever for them to get along, and it's still only the two of mine that are like brothers get along, but they all became more territorial from there being a third cat, if that makes sense. Like, even my two cats, who they used to always get along, Leah has like a little heating pad for them that she puts on the bed that they like to lay on, and they'll like bite each other's necks to like kick the other one off of it, and they are just they're so dumb. They're like 2 years old. They're just idiots. But I love it. I love animals so much.
um, how's Smite been? Like everything going on? Have you been playing a lot this past season, or no? I've seen you streaming a bit.
Yeah, I have. So when I get back home, I was trying to get back to uni because when I leave, I like freeze all my college and everything. So I tried to get back, and they told me that I need to be ready for next semester. So I have a bunch of free time, and I say, I'm just gonna stream Smite in the meantime. Like I'm literally doing nothing, and I've been playing. I actually been enjoying it a lot. I mean, this patch was so fun. Playing a lot of mid. I always found it super fun to play mid in rank more than my own role. So I just play a bunch of mid, and actually enjoying a lot of Smite lately. Actually,
Dude, mid is your own role. Every role is your role.
I mean, I
That's like
guess.
your thing. Yeah, I thought it was really fun too. I haven't played in a bit, but the initial like first few weeks of playing the new year was really, really fun.
Yeah, I mean, there is. I don't know if they meant it that way, but when it's like no more like pro league, I feel like there is like more fun things to do, like not balance at all,
Yeah.
but they're like super fun. I don't know if they actually meant it that way, but
I think they
it's,
for sure have been more
yeah,
experimental
probably.
because they figured
Yeah,
people wouldn't be complaining as much and all of that.
yeah, and I actually think that's fun at all. I don't know if
Same.
like the first like season or like the first like month of the new season when everyone was going this like new like create glyph it was super OP. That was
Hmm.
like what the fuck, and it was actually fun. I mean, for me that I play DC, just walk around and literally create everyone to death. So
Dude,
yeah,
it was so broken. I
it
remember
was
they
yeah
nerfed it even
yeah
more. I think in like PTS, I remember everybody was building it on even like junglers, like every single game, like Herc jungle going full
yeah.
crit. Literally any physical that people were just going the crit glyph. But they nerfed it a little bit, but it was still even good after that for a
Yeah,
long
it's
time.
still good now. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I found it funny. I always have this like thought of process when they introduce glyph that where they limited it to one back then, and I think right now it's so fun, it's so diversity the way that you actually like can build, and you have like multiple like preference in between each glyph and such. So I think that's funny now.
Yeah, especially as I mean, honestly, most like every role can build like two of the items that can go glyphs. Like support
Yep.
for sure can build like you could go
Yeah.
three even on support. Hunter, you have
Yeah.
Xe and Deathbringer. Solan's the same
Lexier.
thing. There's
Yeah.
so many tank glyph items you can go. You go Heartward or
Yeah.
Pridwin. You could even go Jotuns. Like people were going the lifesteal Jotuns a lot even at the end of last year. And now you can do that and build like Pridwin upgrade too, which is sick. Um, mid, I guess mid. There's not that many glyphs you can go because it's Bancrofts and
Like
Rod, right?
Rod. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, mid has the least for sure.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen some mid laners definitely go Bancrofts more though to get the glyph is what I've noticed when I was playing a bit.
Well, I've seen
But
some people do because rejuvenating heart got buffed, right? I've seen people do that with like a lifesteal build, and you can put some glyphs in there if you want. That build's really funny to me. I love it.
have you played the new God at all? Have you got her to rank 10 yet?
No, I stopped. I remember last year I was talking to Ben, to Captain Twink about it, and I said
Uh,
I really need to get back it to rank 10. And he said, "Bro, if you play that goal, we're gonna lose." I said, like, "Oh my god, okay, it's fine. I will not touch the well at all." So I literally didn't play Bake until like this month, and I play Nude. I got it to like rank one, and I think she's so fun. She's so fun to play.
I haven't got a chance to play her yet. But she looks really cool.
Wait, do you
I
have every god diamond except for those two?
For def, yeah, I do. Instead
That's
of for those
insane.
two, and I
yeah,
probably gonna get them eventually, but
Hmm.
I don't have the time for it.
I wanted to talk about that because I think it's like you, me, and Twig have the most in the SPL, and then Oxy, if you count Oxy, the coach, because Oxy has them all too, right?
He has them all, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't know about the new ones like Note and Bake, but after that he was yeah, he had them all.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think you have the most out of like any player for like rank 10s because like with scrimming and everything too, it's hard to like keep up on. I remember
It
I was talking to Miggy and he saw you playing a bunch of Ixchel when she came out in ranked and he's like, is Ixchel good? Why does he keep playing Ixchel? I'm like, he probably wants it ranked 10. It was like right
Yeah.
after she came out, but yeah. I thought that was funny because you were just slamming Ixchel like every game after she came out and ranked.
Yeah, I always thought she was really good, but I always tried to force Jordan, like big man, to play her. But he was not a believer, so what can you do? Cannot force those guys to play those gods.
Yeah, I
You,
actually was a big believer in her as well. I don't know why. I guess she's just like easy to go on, is why people stop playing her.
Yeah,
But I love that character.
yeah, but when you ult someone and you actually are like full ult into
Yes,
someone,
dude.
that feels so good. Like you
When your
actually
frontliner
like,
actually uses it too,
yeah,
and they like run at the
yeah,
person you want to hit,
yeah,
it's so good.
yeah,
Paul
it is.
loved that character. He wanted to play like every game, but then he'd pick it. He'd be like, "Okay, never mind. I don't want to play it." He would always go back and forth. He's like, "It's so good," and then he's like, "Okay, no, it's not." And he's like, "Oh, it's so good. I want to play it still." But he was always super back and forth. But that character, I feel like if you land everything on that god, like that's a god. Like if you hit every single ability, you just can kill everybody in a team fight. It's
Yeah,
crazy. But it's so easy to miss like one or two things on her.
for sure.
Fight.
She has
Um,
so many good builds too. I thought during the, like the maid solo meta, I thought people would play her a little more. I think Sop played her a little bit, but I feel like he was the only
Yeah,
one who really did.
yeah, he did. He spam her a lot.
Did he play her in the? He played her in the semifinals, right, against Final
Hmm.
K, one of the games. I remember that.
Yeah, yeah, he did. Was that the game where
Yeah, he
he
stole
got
the
both
blue.
blues and then started
Yeah,
proxying? Yeah, yeah. He was
Yeah.
montaging, yeah,
that was so fun.
and he was still 3
Oh.
levels behind Daniel. Classic.
Yeah.
Uh, we always usually ask like everybody that comes on like what got you into Smite and like what are some of the games you played before Smite
Uh,
and
oof.
how'd you find Smite too? Like what made you play it? Like how'd you get to playing it in the first place?
Okay, before Smite, I used to play. I don't know if you have ever heard about this game. His name is Dofus. It's like a MMORPG game, and it was so fun. Like you need to like get to level 200. You like get your stats, and I always found it fun like to farm, like do like dungeons. It's like WoW. It's actually like WoW. Yeah, it's MMORPG, and I used to play a lot of that. And I got into Smite by I think I watched a YouTuber that um he was like streaming it one day, and he was playing like all Arachne when you literally have like the webs and you
The
ult and
eggs.
pull them. Yeah, and the eggs. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that Arachne so much.
Yeah. And I played it and I said, "Oh, this looks so cool." And I used to play back in the day in a laptop with literally the numpad and everything. Yeah. And I
Oh my
downloaded it
god.
there, and I fall in love. I like it a lot. Yeah.
So you started playing like back in like 2012, like right during closed beta, or was it a little
No,
after
no,
that,
no.
like
It was a little
2013,
after. It was like 2014, I think, 13. Yeah.
2014?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Because I have so many memories that I graduated from school at 2015, and by then I already was like a pro at Smite. Like I went to a LAN. I'm pretty sure the same year or the year after will be when we have like regions and stuff. And that was so fun.
What was your first LAN?
It was like back in the day, in order to like go to international lands, like go to Atlanta and such, and like wars and everything. We have like a national like rivalry between Latam North and Latam South.
Oh
So
yeah, I remember those.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm from Latam North, and we usually play against like people from Argentina, Chile that are used Latam South. And the land was in Bogota. I remember at that time I met Ryan Agro there. He was the person like in charge of everything. And yeah, that was 2015. I think we lost. We lost 3-1, but I think that was so fun. And after that, I knew that I really wanted to keep doing this. So
Who was
pretty
on
sure
your
that
team?
I don't think no one that you guys know. My team was maybe actually Sleep Tight. I don't know if you
Oh
remember
yeah,
the
of
name.
course,
Yeah, of
dude. Of
course.
course.
Yeah, he
That guy
was
was a
my
beast.
he was my ADC. I used to play a lot with a guy named Cheetah. I don't know, you probably
I know
heard the
him
name
Yep.
before.
too.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I play with Chia
yeah.
and
I think so,
Kyle.
yeah.
Kyle too. So
That
it was my full team, and I used to play jungle. I remember that line. that
that's
was
awesome.
was crazy. Yeah.
Sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt you too.
me?
No, Jark, you were saying something else.
No, no, no.
Oh, you.
Ended my
Oh, okay.
sentence. Yeah.
Do you remember the team you lost to? Like who was on the team?
Yeah, it was Nocturne's Gaming. It was No
Oh, okay.
Swear, Smitero, Noi to Lover, Zion 6, I think was the EDC. And those guys, yeah.
Yeah, they were good for a couple years there, I feel like, in LATAM, no?
They always been the better team. I feel like in the regions.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with them and why they vanish is because when like there is no more like international regions, for people from those countries it's harder. It was harder to like compete in NA because they use like the ping and stuff. Like for
Yeah.
example, our first Sanguine year, we all are from Latin North. Like for example, here I'm in Colombia. I can play Smite and compete, and I feel like I can do well. But those guys have like 150, 200 ping every game, and I feel like that actually like if you want to go like pro play, it's a disadvantage for sure. So
Yeah, that's really tough for sure.
yep.
When did you? Because I know Shinto and Rangyu have been around for a long time too. When did you run into them? Like back in like the early days of the Latam scene. Like when was the first time you played against them? Even in like
Uh,
ranked or like
it was
anything.
the year before I like went to this land, or like when I become pro, I knew them. Like they were this like super like Latam team. His name was Leech, I remember, I think. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sleep I was on that team with them too, I remember. And they were like the unbeatable team, like they never lost. They were like so good, I remember. And I used to be like a casual player. I remember I play a lot of rank. And one day I remember someone told me like you're really good. Do you want to try to go pro? And I say, what is that? And then we go to screams, and I literally every time the first time I scream, I literally like click like I really enjoy this, even though I feel like got stomped, I think. But like the fact that there is like five people just like trying to like achieve one goal, I always found it like so fun. And that's how I started, and I knew them since forever. But like personally, it was the Sanguine year that we used to get back together. I used to play a lot against them like before, and we actually beat them because they were like the best team back then. And we beat them in order to go to one land, I think. So
Which land was that? Do you remember?
it was the same one. It was Bogota. It was in Bogota.
Okay. So you beat them to go to that land. That's
Yeah, yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because back then you have like multiple teams, and the number one team used to face against the number one team for the other region.
Oh, so it's
So
literally just like two teams that would go to this land from one
yeah,
from Latam North and one from Latam South.
exactly.
And you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
played a
yeah.
single best of 5.
And we play a single
Dude,
best of
that's
five.
so
Yeah,
tough. That's actually so
yeah.
tough.
Like you have, like we used to have like regular season when we place against teams from our own region, and the one with like most wins or like top one, it literally like qualifies to play this Latam South team or Atlant. Because I remember those guys traveled too from their countries to Bogota. I mean, it was easy for me because I live here in Colombia, but they like travel from like Argentina, Chile, all these other countries. We literally play each other that time, and um,
That's awesome. And then
yeah,
when did you meet like the other guys too that were on that Sanguine roster, like Panatome and Netroid? Have they been around as for as long? I know Rangyu and Shinto have been around forever because
yeah.
I've even I've played against them forever ago. It's felt like.
Panitom and Netroid, they were on one team, like the next year, I believe, and they were like rookies because we needed another hour, but they both were really good, and they were like with Oxy. Oxy was coaching them back then, so Oxy is like super close to them, to Panitom and Netroid, and they were on this team, and that team was really like really good. Like literally, they came out of nowhere. Like we didn't know them at all. They were just start playing rank, and they were really good. It was like 2015, 16, I think, I believe. That year they were, I'm pretty sure they qualified for something too, and they
Wow.
went to a LAN and stuff. Yeah.
So how did the whole Sanguine team, like that original season 6 Sanguine team, how did you guys all like end up joining up together?
So Hi-Risk announced there's not gonna be more international competition, so it's only gonna be NA minor league and it's gonna be EU minor league. So we like literally we tried like to like make a super team. So Oxy come to us. He talked to Shinto. He talked to Rongyu, and we really wanted to play with Panitom and Netroid. And I like back in the day, I used to be a jungler, and Panitom is jungling. But Oxy knew me since like 10 years, I think. Like we've been friends, like long time friends. And he asked me because they used to have a solo laner, but that guy, I think he didn't want to play with them. And he asked me if I wanted to solo, and I said, yeah, sure, I could try to learn the role. So we literally like make a team and we submit like our resumes. I remember because in like back then the minor league used to have like orgs. I don't know if you guys remember. Like
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like a space station gold. It was like Armada, Cryptic. That's back then when we knew like Blame from Sanguine. So we literally remember we submit our roster to every single one, and I feel like no one replied but Blame, but Sanguine, and he literally liked our story, like because we all went to like lands. We were like kind of like new on the Latin scene, and it was funny because we like were not from NA, but we really want to play on NA with like. If I remember Troy, like Roy, he had like 120 ping all the time because he lives in Peru. Uh, so I remember we literally that year I think we got first. I feel believe like the first phase of the SML. I think our biggest like rivalry was Armada. That Armada roster with like Baskin, with Gino. I think it was
Yeah.
Max on the team too. I don't remember the
Hmm.
full roster. And we always like go like close to those team. I think we qualified to one LAN, but I remember I couldn't go. I don't remember who went for me.
It
I think
was
it was a
Worlds
friend.
for Headaches, right?
Yeah.
No,
Or
no,
was that
no. It
later
was
on?
it was
That was
before. It was
before.
before. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, the
Late,
summer one.
yeah, the summer one. Yeah, I
Okay,
couldn't.
yeah,
I
yeah.
Oh,
couldn't go
okay.
to the summer one because of Avisha, and then on the other one, I have like something with my university that I didn't match with the day, so I actually couldn't travel, and I missed that one too. And
That must have sucked, like having to miss both those
Yeah.
lands.
yeah, it was. I mean, not even more for myself, just for my team because it feels so awkward to you play with a guy for like 6 months and then the guy can't like come to land. So now we have to like sub in and we're going to a sub like nothing to lose, like no expectations.
Well, that
Yeah.
year was really tough too because the dates, if I remember correctly, they weren't like super set in stone because that was the first year that everyone moved in the SPL and
Yep.
they didn't know what the visa process was going to look like. And I remember the season kept getting delayed like a couple weeks and then a couple weeks again. So it just moved the tournament back and it just like delayed the whole season and made it really tough. I wanted to ask you a couple things about that Sanguine team. You brought up a couple of them. The first one was because of the move that was a like controversial topic at the time in the sense of like
Yeah.
you had a lot of old pro players both EU and NA who didn't keep playing, like you mentioned, like Baskin was in the SEC, Mask on the EU side. There were people like like Pretty Prime and some of the older like energy guys weren't necessarily gonna stick around. What was that like for you guys to be playing on ping, playing against former pro players, and like Mask and Baskin weren't just like random pro players either. Like Baskin was one of the best players in NA for like a very long time, and you guys were beating them. And I remember because a few people on that Armada team were close friends of mine. I remember like we would always talk about you guys and talk about your matches. And I remember Shinto specifically, they would always gas up and just be like, this guy is freaking nuts. Like he might I remember back then they were saying he might be the best mid in the world and he was like in SEC at the time. So what was it like when you guys were playing against them at a disadvantage and beating them as well? Like, what did that do for your guys' confidence?
I think at the beginning, I think that it comes. Pretty sure I can speak for all of them. Maybe not for Chinto and Rongyu because, but like for at least Panitom, Nitroy, and we were like new to like facing like pro players because I remember Chinto and Ronnie. They went to Sleech. I remember that year that they beat Allegiance. It was like a year
Mhm.
before,
Yeah,
I feel like. So
they
like they
beat
have.
they beat Mike.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So like they have that experience, and for us, like at the beginning, at least for me, it was like hard, like seeing these big names, like I'm not playing as well because I feel like this guy is just better than me. I remember I had that for like maybe a week or two, and then after that, I think I have like a talk with Oxy, and then after that, I just not like looking at the name. I'm just looking at the god, like, oh my god, Baskin is playing Arthur. Okay, what do I need to beat King Arthur in lane, for example, and things like that. And when we actually got the chance to actually beat them, I think that actually meant a lot for us. So we like keep growing and growing and growing as players because we actually, like for example, all of us, we're like going to school at the time. I remember Chinto and Ronju were going to school too, so we like screens for us was like 6 p.m. We literally end almost like at the end of the day we go to the PC and we screen for like 3 or 4 hours, like 6 to like 11 or 10 or time.
Wow.
And I remember one thing that we did like that year, all year. I don't know if you, yeah, of course you remember Jeetins. He used to run Smite Prime.
Yeah.
It was like every Friday, and we literally sing up to like every Smite Prime. I feel like we think we win all of them. Like we always come to the finals and beat them because like amateur people and sometimes SML guys too. I remember we play every Friday, every single sniper that year. That was like something that we actually need to do. Like on Friday we don't have scrims. Well, you come to Sniper, and if you ever like play it, but you usually have to like wait to the other team to beat each other to like move on the bracket and stuff. So it's probably like 5 hours total, like tournament time that you play in the Smite Prime every Friday. And yeah, I think we all became more confident. Like we all knew that whatever we were doing, like in practice time and like about the game, it was good, and we just keep doing it.
Yeah, I wanted to you guys were I feel like that whole original roster, even when there were like roster changes in later years and you guys kind of split up, you guys were always, in my opinion, like some of the hardest workers and like the biggest grinders, like in ranked or the Smite Primes, like you said. Like I feel like you guys were always playing and had a lot of passion for the game. You touched on it a little bit, but that season 6 Worlds, I feel like I believe you guys were first in that split, or at least you beat Armada in the tournament. It was something like that. But I remember you guys were going into those worlds qualifiers, and I feel like by that time, like everybody had kind of realized how good you guys were. And like you said, like unfortunately you weren't able to play, and Haddix had ended up like substituting, and they still qualified for Worlds. I'm kind of curious what that experience was like for you, and then how what it was like to end up, like seeing your team do so well. Uh and like knowing that you're going into the next year and you guys are going to try to qualify for the SPL.
Uh, it was fun. Like I remember like the whole like process. I was watching scrims. I was still part of the process. Like I knew I couldn't go, so I'm still sitting watching them like practice and stuff. And um I think we like I was like really proud of them because I remember like for example Panitom and we used to be like super close. We used to play a lot together. So we used to, because I used to be a jungler too. Sometimes I used to like help him in stuff that he doesn't know what to do. I remember we got like that synergy, that like really like good like synergy. That for example, Panitom is not really like this like talk to big guy. Like he doesn't talk that much, so you need to like knew or know what he's gonna do in order to actually do well with him. And I think we got at that point. So I was like really scared that with Hadix and stuff, it's not gonna be the same. But I think they matched really well too with time. And I was like so relieved for me that he could actually play the game the way he wanted. But I feel like Panitom is just a beast, and I want everyone to see how good my teammates were. So I I use help in the process, I think, Mike. And you actually got lucky that I couldn't go because I don't know if I'm there, maybe rival doesn't make it.
Might have
To
been
be wrong.
back-to-back
I
losses
mean,
to SCC for me that year.
maybe yeah. So
What was the relationship like between you and Haddix as well? Was that like, because sometimes that can be tough, whether it's like another active player in your case, because like you said, you just couldn't travel for that. But I know there's even been situations where, like, let's say you have a coach and that coach used to play the role that you played. Like, sometimes people can butt heads. Were you guys like that, or did you guys get along pretty well?
uh, I just like he just asked me a few things. I remember. Uh, but we weren't that like close as a friends. I think I knew him just when he wanted to sub in. I think we played
Hmm.
against him, and we just literally help each other out in order to we come to a point that we want to like achieve one goal, even if it's just for like one just tournament. And so I think we just get along. I remember last time I think Oxy had to play, so we didn't want our coach to play. So yeah, so
That's a classic.
you actually came to a plan this time, and we find a guy, and I think he matched with the boys really well, and I think he did really well. Really thankful for him to actually step in that time too.
Yeah, that's awesome because I feel like the two of you, along with Saad, I feel like you guys were kind of like the new players in Solo Lane that everybody knew was
Yeah,
really good, and you guys were all kind of like, you guys ended up pretty much all getting your shot like at the SPL at kind of the same time. So it's interesting that two of you were essentially on the same team for a little bit there.
yeah,
I remember the one thing I remember because we scrimmed that Sanguine team with Haddix like at the land center like near Worlds. I forget what the land center was called, but we scrimmed them for like I think they did pretty well against us too, if I remember right. Um, I think they won like 2 games. They won 2-1 against us. We played like 3 games that night, and I remember the whole time, or not the whole time, but a lot of the time they're saying like, yeah, like Yark is so good. I wish she was here. Like all your teammates were saying that, and like I wasn't sure how good you were. Like I knew of you from SCC, but like I was always like I always found it weird like that you would miss the lands and stuff. I didn't know exactly why you would have to miss the lands and everything, but like hearing all your teammates talk about you, like Shinto, Rangyu, Netroid, Pan, like all of them were like saying like if Yark was here, we would win this thing for free. Like they were all basically saying like how good you were like when I was talking to them basically because I was just asking them like about you and stuff and they were saying that they wished you were there and everything and I was like that when they were like gassing you up like that then I was like this guy has got to be pretty good because I know I've played against you a little bit like I think in ranked and then like I've seen you
yeah,
play in like SCC and stuff but I wasn't sure just because of all the past stuff so I was like super excited to like watch you play when you're able to play like the season after qualifying for SPL. But that was like the
yeah.
biggest thing that I remember from that world.
I think I feel I have this like personality. I don't think it's a personality. It's more like the way I am. That I feel like I'm a really good leader. So I'm older than them. So I was like the guy to listen to when we come to play. Because I mean, since Sanguine and Leviathans and all that, we always been like really loud and like really like energetic and like passionate. And sometimes when you are like that, sometimes things can get out of control. So I always been that guy saying, "Yo, guys, chill. We need to do this, 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 this." So that's probably why they feel like it's so funny because I never like see this role of like a shot caller in the game, but I feel like since I start playing, I literally meet the requirements to like be in that role, like literally like lead everyone to do what it takes us to just get a win. So because I even though I'm like hype like them, I'm also like really calm. So and I think one of the thing that I'm grateful of Smouth about is actually teach me how to control my feelings, like my emotions. So I'm not like overhype or like not that hype at all. So I think that's why they feel like I always like find a way to like balance each other's out on that team, at least on the Sanguine team. So no.
It's actually funny you bring that up because I was going to ask you about moving into season 7 because I remember season 7 was the first year that you guys were in the SPL, and I remember at the start of it, I remember laughing a lot because Weekend had made some drama about like how are these guys even accepted? How are they in the SPL? And I
Oh
remember
my
thinking the whole
god.
time, I was like, they are gonna. It
Oh.
was so troll too because that roster literally beat the entire bottom of the SPL to qualify for Worlds, and
And you
Weekend.
guys like crushed them as
Yes,
well
it
too on
wasn't even
top of that.
close. Yes, not even close. And then the funny thing about what Aurora was saying, like your teammates like hyping you up and like wishing that you were there. Sometimes when you hear that, it's because like they think, like if you play with a coach, it's like, okay, well, obviously like a lot of the coaches aren't as good as the players. But it wasn't even like they were trashing Haddix. Like Haddix, everyone thought
Yeah.
Haddix was a really good player too, and they still like felt like you were a huge piece of the team. So I knew like when you got back and when you guys qualified for SPL, you were gonna own. But I don't think anyone expected you guys. You guys won that first split, like the regular season. You were first.
Yeah.
And I didn't know much about your guys like team dynamic. And then I had heard like throughout that year and from scrimming against you guys, you could kind of tell that you were like, I don't know if it's fair to say like you were the sole leader, but you could tell like you were a pretty big part of that team, like voice wise, or like they'd play really hard off of like when you would like rotate to the objective, stuff like that. So like what was that like for your guys' confidence and kind of like learning how to beat pro teams, learning like the pro like scrim environment, like moving to the US? Like it was just a huge change for all you guys, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was. I remember. I think Blaine was a really big part of this. I remember we arrived to America. At least for me, it was the first time being in the country. And I think Blaine actually made it super easy for us. Like we literally arrived, we had absolutely everything we needed. I think the only thing missing that we have is that we didn't have like setups. Like we didn't have like chairs or like PCs. I remember when we got there, we buy them. But besides that, we literally have everything. We had the house, we had like beds already. Like the house was literally fully with furniture, and we use like big rooms, every single one of us. Then we start trying to get a really good like culture practice, like wake up early, try to like eat breakfast. We tried that for like a few months, but I mean, like everyone, then someone's gonna be late, then
You guys
someone's not
had a
gonna be on time.
couple night owls on
Yeah,
that team.
yeah.
Uh,
I remember too that we used to, I mean, not like drink, but like every time we play and we get a win, we like celebrate. So we like drink a little, we like go out and eat, and we, yeah, like that year. I think that year was like the most like freedom, I think, like every one of us has, because we literally are like 5 guys from all over the place in one house in America. You know, we're literally getting paid to play video games, and I think some of us took that as like a freedom thing to like do anything you want. And then I still like to remember back then I was out, I like still taking care of everyone. Like, it's like, yo, it's 3 a.m. I think we have scrims tomorrow. We need to like go to sleep. So I always try to like keep everyone at bay. I remember so many days I have to be the first one waking up to literally wake everyone up so you can play.
I've been there
That's a
before.
classic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I literally wake up. We used to have a scream room, but I don't know if you have ever had one. But the scream rooms are not good because like when it goes to like everyone at the same place is I don't know. It just doesn't feel that comfortable. I think unless we have like better like spacing, maybe we're like too close to each other. It was not like a bigger room where we have to like wake up each other out. We come to. I remember the first scream of the day. It was always a mess because everyone is still so sleepy. They have no idea what are they doing. So like the first game of the day was not looking good at all in that
Back
team.
then, the first time I remember like screaming you guys, the first lesson I learned is that like everybody wanted to scrim you guys because they hadn't gotten to play against you much and you guys were good. And like if you scrimmed like one of the like more experienced teams or whatever, like you scrim Radiance, they're ready at like 11 o'clock, they're good to go. You scrim Sanguine, like you're gonna be starting like 11:15, 11:20. Like Hardcore's got to wake up Shinto, he's got to get everyone out of bed. Like it was already a like a bit of a joke back then. But you guys, like, to be fair, after that game one, you guys were always like really locked in, I feel like.
Yeah. like Oxy always helped us with that. I think one of the reasons that we did so good is because of him. Like he loved like looking at like stats. Like for example, remember Oxy has like an spreadsheet when he has the like cost efficiency of items. So like for example, I remember this item so well. What is it called? Emperors. Emperor was like the most like cost efficient item. He was like so cheap and the stats were like so good. I remember we having this discussion for like months. Like, what is no one buying this item? Because it was like 2,000 for 200 health and 60 pros or something like
Yeah,
that back
it's
then. Yeah,
that. Yeah, it
yeah.
Mhm.
was exactly that.
And no one like buy it because like the passive was like, yeah, you like the towers do like less like attack less faster or something like that. So he always helped us with that and with gods too. So we literally stick to what's like the meta. That was our thing. So like if Merlin is good, Merlin is OP. Okay, Chinto, you need to like play Merlin probably 10 games in a day maybe. Like not only scrims, but you need to like try it in rank too. And you need to play this and that, and we literally grind those goats like really hard. I have so many King Arthur games in me that year that was crazy. I play a lot of King Arthur. I play a lot of Yorm or like Artio back in the day because that was like a way of practice. Like we should play what's the best in order to beat the best. I think that was like our mindset.
Mhm.
I remember you guys, like everybody, including yourself on your team, all played so much ranked that first year too.
Yeah.
Like if you guys weren't scrimming, you knew that your team was gonna be in the queues. At least one or two of you at any point of the day, basically all the way until scrims the next day, even sometimes, because people would just be up so late playing ranked. It was always a good time to queue up that year because the games were always good. I feel like that was like one of the best
Yeah.
ranked times, and that was also during COVID too. So
It
like
was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
people
it
were
was.
staying in, so
That's what I
Yeah.
like
was gonna say.
everybody was just in the queues, I guess, as
The rank
well.
queues that was my favorite year of ranked for sure. It was just like, obviously like COVID sucked, but a byproduct of it was I feel like a lot of people were grinding and people were playing ranked a lot. Like I don't know if you guys remember this, but I feel like a lot of teams would take off Monday because we would have games like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I
Yeah.
remember Monday would be like the day off scrims, but after the SPL on Sunday, I remember those like Sunday night queues for me were like my favorite because that'd be the night where people were like, "Oh, I can stay up and stream." Like, I'm hitting those Kenneth queues every single Sunday night. I loved it. It was so fun.
Yeah, Kenna had like a ridiculous streaming schedule that year. I think he streamed like I've never seen someone as much as he streamed
Dude,
that
that
year.
guy is the most
That was
disciplined grinder ever.
he was a machine streamer that year. That's for sure. It was crazy.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, Hardcore. So we go through like Sanguine, and you guys. I think you were first in the first split, and then you were second the second split, something like that. It was
Think
because I think you guys, us, and SSG, we were like top three both the splits. And I think Radiance PK, you guys were fourth, fifth, like all of them. And I remember you guys would play. Did you play them the first LAN, Aurora? It was Radiance versus Sanguine, like first round.
We played them this. Was it the first or second round?
Oh,
We
they had a
played you
bye. It was the
guys.
second round. They had a
We
bye. You
played you
guys
guys
beat
in the second round. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I remember you guys didn't have your greatest performances at tournaments that year, and I'm kind of curious, like going from that into we'll get to what happened in season 8 in a bit, but I'm kind of curious like how that affected you guys and what your experience was like, because those were really, they were still online tournaments, but it was really the first like like Worlds is a bit of a different experience because one, you're not there, and also we're only playing a best of 3, whereas I think every single set that year, quarters or not, was a best of 5.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was weird for us. Like, I think I attribute a lot about like getting like first like seed or like first place on the first split that year because like no one expected us to be like this good. So like we like catch probably a bunch of teams Odgar. Uh, and when it comes to tournament time, I feel like we didn't play as good as we did in like regular games. Probably like pressure, I guess, like nerves, just like this like fierce like big thing that we actually need to do as a team. So I remember those games. I had games where I remember this game a lot. It was against Renegades at Wars
Hmm.
qualifiers, and I literally didn't know what happened, and the game was already almost lost. Like everyone like just dying. Like that doesn't happen because we used to be like really disciplined about like when these things happen. You know, like if you die and it's gonna be for a reason, things like that. And like everyone like forget about that, and we like literally like the game when it comes to a point where the game is literally out of your control, and it's up to like the enemy team to actually like do a mistake in order like for you to like come back and stuff. So I will say, yeah, we were rookies that year in order in terms
Yeah.
to like tournaments and everything. So we weren't as prepared. But I think every single one of us, after losing tournaments and like doing good in regular season, like learn a lot from like how to practice and just like have like literally play with confidence.
Yeah, I feel
I
like
think that was for sorry. I think that what was we were missing when we play. Like we just like plug in and play, but literally like no confidence. Like I try to like be decisive, uh, for us as a team, but I it's hard for like for me to like be decisive of what everyone is doing. Like everyone need to like put their parts in order to just being able to be in like winning spots. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I remember watching a lot of your sets. I don't think we played you guys in a tournament at all that year, and I remember always watching because I think for a couple of those I had expected like, oh, maybe we would like play them in the finals or something like that. And I remember like the Renegade set that you're talking about, like I don't mean this in like a toxic way, but if there was like a play that you could show to like show nerves, there was a play where I think they rat offed in the air and Shinto used like both of his relics and
Yeah,
Rangi
I
used his
remember
sprint
that
and Netroid
sprint.
used like you guys burned like 4 relics and they'd never even like rat landed once and just like
Yeah.
you could really tell that you guys were nervous, which like it sucks in the moment when it happens, but it also like it's just natural. Like it happens to everyone, and everyone has to learn to like lose in important sets and learn how to fail, and it's what ends up making you really good in the future, of course. So yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. What was it like? Actually, maybe we should touch on the role swap stuff a little bit later because I'm curious what it was like for you guys when I feel like a lot of people kind of put that label on you guys as like tournament chokers or whatever. So what was it like for you guys to end up picking up Zap and like it seemed like he gave you guys a lot of confidence and that really turned you guys around at tournaments?
I mean, that was Sanguine, and then next year it was like Leviathans, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So for next year, I feel like even though like we love Netroy as a person, I feel like as a like a professional that year at least, he changed so much after that. Like I could tell when we just talk with each other. But
Mhm.
that year he feel like he wasn't like putting the effort that we needed him to put, and we all agree on that. There is probably a few other things like, but I barely remember. So I don't think we wanted to play with him anymore. So we wanted a change, and in for than that to happen, I think back then Chinto was talking a lot with Julio.
Mhm.
We wanted to keep the team just like we all speak Spanish because I feel like it was easier for us, even though I
Mhm.
feel like we all speak English pretty well. But so I think Chinto told me that Julio wanted to play with us and he was doing really good in uh it was like SML on EU.
Yeah.
I think he was on this like belt slap team, I think, with like Sarjos, with Tricks, and they were like owning, and they actually qualified for the playoff, I think, to Wars, I remember. I think they
Yeah, they
lost
were
to
really good.
Renegade, yeah, or something like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we talked to him, and I don't know, I think it was more like Chinto doing that. Like we barely speak with him, and they asked me that if I could play another role, and I say, yeah, sure, I could try to ADC that year. I remember, and I think we were doing really, really good until until Julio gets banned. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember that,
Uh-huh.
but I remember that day really well. I'm literally asleep, and I get a call from Discord from Cooper, for Steven Cooper, yeah,
Mhm.
and he called me telling me that one of my players did this and that, and he cannot play that day. And I'm like, wait, what? Because I literally is like half asleep. Uh, and then I remember we have like a match. I don't remember against who. I think we play against what's the team that year? think it was Titans. I think it was you, Aaron, I'm
Was
pretty
it? Was
sure.
it? Was it our
I
team?
Yeah, pretty sure we play against you because I remember Benji Farm Oxy. I remember
Oh,
that.
that's
Okay, I
right.
think
I
I remember
remember
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Okay, yeah, I
remember.
remember that. I remember
I
that
remember
now.
tweeting about that. That's like the
Yeah.
biggest David versus
Oh
Goliath
Yeah,
ever.
yeah,
my
yeah.
god, bro.
Yeah, because we got like that call. I'm pretty sure we have match the same day, so we have like no one to call. We
Yeah.
have no substitute. We have Oxy, and Oxy hated that because he doesn't like playing at all. He's always said that he has a coach. He doesn't want to play after like whatever reasons. So we play
Oh.
that. Of course, we got like 2-0 Storm. I think we have another match. I think we play. We did a little bit better that game. We still lost. And then after that, we literally sit down and just literally have like a team talk. Like, what are we gonna do? Because he didn't got banned like immediately. He got suspended. I think they were like harass people were like checking their logs, his
Oh
logs.
You're
yeah.
So
investigating him,
they
right?
were
A little bit.
investigating. Yeah, yeah. So like he gets suspended. That's the information that we had. That he got suspended. So he can't play this week and probably next week too, something like that. But after that, he probably is good to play. So we have to like make the decision. Like we find a new player, or do we like find someone to fill for him while he can't get back? So I think we like literally we didn't know, so we came to the conclusion that we want to play with someone new. So we literally look for options, and the options were I tried to get someone for other teams. I remember I think Panitom asked Nika to play.
I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, to play solo. And I think Nika said nah, he was like good with his team, that he doesn't want to leave, and all good.
I
And
remember
then
thinking that was crazy too, because that was when they were all stuck on ping. And Nika, it was like Nika and Vote were like the only two
in
that were actually
America,
in NA. And
yeah,
you guys were still, you like kind of skipped over this a little bit because I feel like you don't like to, gloat. But the first split, you guys were first again in the regular season. You won another split and you were owning an ADC. You soloed like everybody, like
Yep.
literally like every ADC, you solo killed them. And I remember thinking, like, dude, this team is so good if they just get another good soul laner to replace Julio. And then it seemed like everyone said no to you guys. I couldn't believe it.
yeah. So
I
sorry, Harold, yeah, go
I
ahead.
remember though. I want to say one thing. I remember the Heim game you played. I think you went crit, and you it was like I don't remember who you guys were against, but you were Heim and you were just in their base and you were literally two-shotting people like over and over again. And you were spawn camping. I'm like, holy cow, dude! Yark is here. Because I remember you were playing a lot of the hunter role like at the end of like the season 7 in ranked. I remember you all the time. I remember you
Yeah,
played Hu Yi and I think you got like a pentakill against me in ranked or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
Like
I remember that.
it was like in front of the Soul Lane Phoenix or something. And
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I remember after that I was like, man, he's pretty good at that role too. And then you swapped, and then I saw that Heim game. I forget who you guys were against, but you were just swinging on everybody, one-shotting him with crit. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was a fun met. I remember in ADC. I think it was Creed was like super busted, and we were like owning and all that. So yeah, I actually remember that. But I was okay. I was about to okay. So we like
Yeah,
sit.
sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah. So we like do like a team talk, and we like were trying to like find a player for us to like feed. I remember back then Steven was playing on the Scarabs, I think.
Hmm.
So we asked him to play ADC for us, and I swapped back to solo because that one of the like the solution that we could find because we couldn't find a solo laner that wanted to play with us. And she told me if I could like go back if you wanted like if you're he always asked me if I'm okay with it, and I always said yeah I just don't mind it like I will play the role that my team needs me to play, and I always say that to him to everyone when they ask me about like roles and role swap and everything. So we asked Steven. I think he was like super excited. I think the Scarab team were like not doing that great. So he feel like he could have probably do better with us, I remember. And I remember he immediately like he's so funny because he said to us that he needs to like ask to like talk to his wife to see what she thinks. And yeah, because this was like overnight, I remember. So
Hmm.
we talked to him at like I don't know, like 10 p.m. And he said that yeah, I will let you know tomorrow morning. I need to talk to my wife to see what she thinks. And then on the morning he said, yeah, yeah, bro, I'm in, let me in. So we talked to Cooper
Let
about
me.
all that. Yeah. So we talked to Cooper about like all the stuff that the roster changed and everything, and if it was possible, and she said, yeah. If like both teams agree, there is no issue or whatever, and then we just made the change, and we feel like we grew up a lot when we got like Steven on our team
I feel
because
like the biggest thing I noticed playing against you guys, I don't know if you had anything on your end, Aurora, but one of the things that I feel like ended up being like a question mark for you guys at tournaments was exactly what you had said the year before. Like, I think part of what made you guys so good, especially in the regular season, was that you were grinding the game a lot and you guys would always be very good at like whatever character was meta, whatever like the best characters were, every single one of you was like one of the best players like in your role at those gods. And I feel like when it came to tournament time, you guys didn't really have a lot of like pocket picks or a lot of like backup strategies or things to go to. And I feel like once Zap joined the team, it felt like you guys really like I feel like you guys really got good at a bunch of different styles. Like you didn't lose your identity of like, if people gave you King Arthur or they gave Shinto like, whatever meta mage it was, Tiamat or Merlin, like
Merlin.
Raijin at the time, I think it was, like you guys would still own, but then there would also be these like other things that you could do. And I wondered, like, did Zap give you guys a lot of confidence in that, or how did that develop?
Yeah, he did for sure. Like I remember he always saying that we always need to have like when it comes to tournament, you always need to have like multiple picks. Even like he always said like one like pocket pick,
Hmm.
and we always like see it, and literally I remember we type it on Discord. We have like a list of like or most like play gods and like or like most like percentages winning gods, like the gods that we would win the most with. And so we have that list, and I remember he saying not to us that even though you guys are really good with these gods, you still need to have like one or two gods that no one expect you to play, but they are still good, you know. So so when it comes to practice, we change a little bit in that sense because in practice we like try hard. Like we, I think that was a mistake for us to be fair because after that year I learned a lot from like playing in other teams. How like practice like culture is a little bit different too. We always play like the same thing almost every time. So when it comes to tournament time, we're like so predictable. Like like Chinto's gonna play Merlin if Mace open. So
Hmm.
um, so when Steven came, that changed a little bit, and I think Oxy, me, and Paniton, we always did like the draft together. So we got really good at drafting when Steven come to the team because he was a really like good like old voice to listen to, like so wise, a wise voice. Uh, so yeah, I think that's the way that he impact at least from like the gods that we play, and it comes to like other factors. I think I always remember this from him. I don't know if you guys ever like you actually both team with Steven, but
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
don't know if he said that before. But he always repeat to us like confidence and smart. It's like the unbeatable combo, and I have that like until today. I always think that is like actually true. Like I'm playing with like all the confidence that I want, but I'm still like being smart enough to know like when to like take losses or when to do this and that. So I feel like he joining with us actually teaches a lot inside and outside of the game. So
yeah. For me, like playing with him, if I had never played with Zap, I would have never been as good as I was for as long. Like I think playing with him, I think he's had an impact on so many different players of how good they are, especially for me because I learned so much just about the game playing with him. Because when I play with him, I felt like I was really good. I had a lot of really good ideas about the game. Um, but I just needed to get my fundamentals down, like how to play the
exactly,
laning
yeah,
phase a little bit better, how to communicate things a little bit better. And once I got that from him, I kind of upped my level to like the next level, and I became a way better player. Um, so I think he does wonders for so many people on so many different teams. I don't know if you had the same thing with him, Mike, when you played with him, because it was so early in your career. But I feel
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I mean, even though it was early, I think the thing that stood out to me the most is like the idea of him playing like or saying like, play like with confidence and play smart because especially back then, like early on in the years when I had first played with Steve or like first like kind of heard of him, everybody thought of him as like this like highlight player and like, he would always be like the guy who would like pop off, try to solo people. But I think people always underestimated like just how disciplined he was in pro play. Like when it came to comms, especially like even if you had a lead and you were like sieging, he would always make sure like no one was lazy. Like no one was going out of base alone. Like nobody was like doing something stupid to get picked, to, like give another team a chance to get back in the game. Like he was always just so good. I mean, like Aurora, you'd always call him like the Tim Duncan of Smite. Like he was just
Yeah.
Mr. Fundamental for a lot of it. And I feel like he was just such a calming presence, and I feel like I could really, because you mentioned it earlier, hardcore, like you guys, I remember saying, I don't know if it was Sanguine or you guys individually, but there would always be like posts of like when you guys would win, they'd post like the pop-offs and you guys would be like yelling, like going crazy, like hyping each other up. And it's really good to have that. Like it makes everyone have fun and you're like passionate, it's a good
Yeah.
time. But like you said, like at times you can, especially like when you're in an important like LAN environment, or in a tournament, it can be really hard to like get everybody to like focus back up and like be calm. And I feel like when you have another person on your team who is really calm but they're still very confident, it's like a really nice balance where you guys can still be yourselves and you still have someone to like fall back on as well along with yourself.
Yep, I agree. I think like the biggest like example of that is when we play Aurora on the finals at Wars that year. I think we were like so happy to be there. I remember the king sets was like we thought we are gonna lose. I remember we three ended up three winning 3-1, but that set should have go to game 5. I'm pretty sure.
You one
Like
shot the
Oh,
Kepri
didn't
off the
Panny make like a
Bennett, I remember.
insane play too?
yeah, he killed
He was
someone
like
at the end. I
Susano, I
think.
think, right?
I don't remember what he was playing, but yeah, he like killed someone through like mantle of discord or something
Oh,
like
he
that.
was Nem. He was like
It
Nem and
was
he like
him.
mantle stunned them.
And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
speed buff,
Yeah,
yeah. The two things I remember is when you guys banished genetics as Kepri, one
and he
shot
one
him,
shot. Yeah,
and
Yeah.
then the mantle of Discord like double stun like at speed buff that just won you guys the game.
Yeah.
yeah, I
And
remember that.
so broken that item, so crazy.
When you bring up that Worlds, I wanted to ask you, by the way, hardcore, because in season 7, if I remember correctly, I think the first tournament you played Radiance in the semifinals and you guys lost. And then the next tournament, I think you played, I think the next two tournaments, like the fall tournament and Worlds qualifiers, you played Renegades back to back, and they beat you guys both times because we ended up playing them in the semis both those tournaments, and
Yeah.
we always thought we were going to play you guys, and you lost to them both times. And then I remember the next time you guys matched up against them was season 8. You won you won the split again. You played them in semis. You lost to them again, and then you didn't play them again until Worlds in the quarters. And I remember there was a really big narrative of a lot of people just thought that they were going to beat you guys again because they had
Yeah.
won every single matchup. And I'm kind of curious, like, did you guys feel pressure from that, or did you feel like, I guess, superstitious about that at all, or did it not even enter your mind?
I mean, I think for game 1, I think it showed a little bit. Like game 1, it was like so slow, but they ended up like sieging against us. I remember. But there is one of like probably the like the Steven effects that we were like, okay, how are we gonna do this and that? Like we never actually planned stuff like that before. Not exactly like how Steven likes to do things.
Like how we're going to play this fight, that type of thing?
Yeah, yeah. For example, yeah. For example, I remember I was playing Chuck, and he was telling me, okay, when they like we kill the minions, you like literally 1-3 them. They cannot go past that. I remember that. So I remember we were literally they couldn't siege against. I remember exactly the combat. I just remember I was playing Chuck that game 1. And then it was like literally impossible for them to see. They probably could have done like a million things differently, but they were like try to 5-man siege. I remember was like Duosai Phoenix
Yeah.
that game, and they couldn't. And after that, I remember we killed them and we win. And after that game, I feel like all these like superstition, like all times that we play against them, it was like over because I think the next two games were like faster pace. We were like more confident. We actually knew what to do. So, but I think it was a little bit on that game 1. Yeah,
I
a
feel like
little
that's
bit
the
of that.
most freeing feeling. Like once, if you feel like a team like has had your number, like once you like are in a tough spot against that, you like start to worry in your head. Like even if you're super focused, and most people normally are, like there's still like that little like devil on your shoulder that's like, oh no, it's about
Yeah,
to happen
fuck, it
again, you
must
know?
happen again. Yeah,
Yeah, and then like once you finally overcome that, I feel like it's such like a
a
freeing
relief.
feeling, like you can
Yeah,
really like be yourselves again. And I feel like it was really easy for me to see that watching you guys. And I feel like I'm surprised to even hear that you guys were worried about the Kings, because once you guys beat them, I was like, oh, they're gonna just start rolling people now.
Yeah, I think when it comes to playing Kings, we always like have like tough match against them. I think we lost the last tournament against that. I feel like we lost. I think
In the
they
semis, yeah,
in the
against them.
semis, yeah, we
Mhm.
lost.
We played them in the finals, I think, after you
Oh,
guys
of
lost.
the like fall tournament or
The
whatever.
fall
Yeah.
tournament, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember we lost against them, and it was like, oh my god, it's actually about to happen again. Like we're about to lose. I remember we win two, we lost one, and then in game four we should have lost that game. I remember we're like really far down. But I think they made a mistake. We like capitalized that, and we just came out on top. And I think after that game, we actually after that set, we feel like unbeatable coming to Titans. And it's funny because I don't know if you remember this at all, but Aaron and I used to that year we scream at the studio. Like we
Yeah,
have like 2 or 3 days, I
I
think, something like that. And
remember.
we literally came to the studio to scream. So we're like, and we lost like probably all the screams against it, or most
We
of
beat
them.
you guys. We beat you guys every game. I don't think
Every
you guys
game,
missed
I'm
once.
pretty sure.
We literally
Yeah,
destroyed you guys for
like
like 2 or 3 days
every game.
straight.
Yeah,
We double blocked. I remember it was like the second day of those scrims. We went out to eat like during the break, and you guys came back, and we played like two more games. You guys, okay, we're done, and then you guys were just
yeah.
done.
I
It was
remember
just
that. Yeah,
yeah, that was like a rough uh scrim patch for you guys, but that's what it was like for me going into Worlds on my Splice team. I always talk about it as I lost almost every game. Maybe we beat them like a couple games like against United going to that World, and then we ended up doing really well. Um but yeah, that was a weird one because we won like I don't think we lost. Like that was like that Titans year, once we got layers, I think we lost like 6 scrims, like the entire. It was crazy. We won like every scrim for some reason. I don't know why. Like I know we lost some SPL sets, but we were just like scrim demons that year. I don't know what it was, but it was crazy.
yeah. So when it comes to that game, it was like, oh, I think we feel like we're all know it's going to happen, but then like game one, we absolutely I think nothing happened that game. Then all of a sudden, no, actually, you guys were winning that game. I remember.
We got off to a really good start. Like I
Yeah,
Oh, was
think,
that the game you were
yeah,
Fenrir, Aurora?
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. He was under. Yeah,
I played so bad that set. I feel like, but the start players got a kill on Shinto to
on
start the
Cheeto.
game.
Yeah,
And then at red buff, we went on you guys at red and we got like 2 more kills.
yeah,
And we were like really far ahead. And I think Paul was playing Zeus.
yeah. He was.
And I remember the one fight I ulted Rongyu at back camps. This was a fight he was playing Circuit. And you guys won this fight. It was like I forget, it was like Rongyu and someone else at back camps. They were standing right
Yeah,
next to
probably
me, and
Pani, I guess. Yeah.
he casted chain lightning and back camp spawned when he was in my Fenrir ult, and the chain lightning bounced the back camps instead of bouncing between them, and he lived on like 1
One
HP.
HP.
Yeah,
Yeah, we killed one.
and
Yeah, I
and then you
remember that.
guys won the fight really hard off of that. And I remember like thinking like, oh my god, that is just so like unfortunate. Like after that happened, but yeah, and then you guys just, I think you guys fought us at gold. I think we did Gold Fury. I think Cyclone was Charybdis. Like we did Gold Fury, we got it, and then you guys went on us. And I think Rangu had a pretty good ult, and then like Cyclone
Yeah,
missed his Charybdis ult, and you
and
guys won that fight there.
he live with one HP too. I feel like. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he lived with
Oh,
one
it's
HP
so
again there,
crazy.
and then you guys got like Pyro, and then you guys just, and then the game was still really close. I remember, and from our POV, like we're like we were still feeling pretty good, and we're like we just Paul's like, I need to back, like don't fight, let me back, don't fight, and then you were playing Artio and you went on Benji and Soul Lane, and I tried to help him and I died, and then you guys just won the game off it so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was game one, and then I think game two. Um, I don't remember what happened in game two. And I think was that the game where Panny played Gilgamesh and was just
Yeah, I
yeah.
remember we had like one fight at around like gold. Then we killed Paul, and then we killed all of them. Like you guys like all die. I remember.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, we
Uh,
got 5-0 because Benji's like,
yeah,
man, this never has happened to us once the entire year. I remember that's what
yeah,
Benji said. It was crazy.
Dude, no way
We
he's
literally,
saying that in the middle of a
well,
game.
he said it after the set, not in the
Oh,
middle of the
okay, okay.
game.
I was gonna say
Yeah, I
that's
remember.
the
Yeah,
least Benji thing I've ever heard. Okay.
no, but he talked about it after this. He's like,
Yeah.
that's just weird that happened. Like, but yeah, we literally got 5-0 at gold. I remember. And then just
Yeah.
after that, you guys just had the game. Like it was just
Yeah, the
impossible
game
to
was,
win.
yeah, we
Yeah.
did gold, we did fiber, I remember, yeah.
I remember thinking like I feel like it always happens this way where like the team that wins worlds, it's almost like poetic in a way. Like it feels like that every year because you guys had that like all the storylines for you guys about like having to get over like the Renegades or Bolts team. And then also like everyone would always talk about like, oh, they can only play the meta, they can only do this and that. But like you guys became impossible to draft around in that meta because like you were really good at, I think it was like Ardio was like the main one, and I think Arthur was still meta and stuff. Like you were just so good at those characters. Like same thing with Panny, he was so good at like all the warriors and Gilga especially. Same thing with Shinto, like Ronnie with Yamoja. Like you just literally couldn't ban you guys out. And I remember I think games 2 and 3, you guys had like Ardio, Gilgamesh, Yamoja. And I was just thinking like it was just impossible to deal with you guys. You were just all so good at like all of the best characters.
Going into that set though, to be fair, like their comps looked insane, but we scrimmed them and they played those exact comps against us, and we felt like very good, especially against the Gilga, like every game. But the Gilga just went off in that tournament set, and everybody's like, "Why'd you guys never ban Gilga?"
That's a
It's
classic, yeah.
it's because we did so well against the
Yeah.
Guild, like every single game. Like we would just shut him down like every single. I think Panatone changed his build though, like going into that Worlds, like
I
based on our
think so.
scrims.
I
I
don't
think
remember, but
he
yeah,
went like
probably, yeah.
I think he went like 1 or 2 more tank items than he normally would.
Oh,
Like
that
he
was the
basically went
Scream like demon build, right? That was
yeah,
like the
Yeah,
Shogun's thing, yeah.
yeah,
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 I think he basically went full tank. Like he like changed his build because he would just go. I think he would go like 1 or 2 more damage items, and then I think at that world swapped his build to be a little bit more tanky. So I think it was why it was like really good in sets, especially.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that was you guys wrecked us. I was so sad when we lost that Worlds too because I felt like we were so good that entire year, and
you
like
guys
our
were,
team was
yeah.
just good. But you guys definitely deserved it. You guys owned us.
Yeah, I remember like watching that set was also a big deal because it was like Paul or Zap were gonna be the 3-time, and obviously out ended up like Zap is the only like 3-timer, which is still like crazy to me to think about. Like he won like 3 in a row is like insane. Um, I'm kind of curious about how that transitioned into season 9. You guys all stayed together, and I think like we've touched on it a couple times, but one of the biggest thing about your team was that you guys were like the biggest grinders ever. That was kind of why I was like really like happy for you guys. Like you're always happy for someone when they win worlds because like obviously as a competitor, like you know how much people go through to like work that hard to get to that point. Like it's a lot of like
I wasn't happy. I'm just kidding.
yeah, of course.
No, no, I
But
was.
like
I'm kidding.
but like you know like everyone goes through a lot of like work, and I feel like especially for you guys like knowing how like big of a change it must have been for you guys to like completely move like away from your family like in the middle of COVID, and then you guys like end up grinding a ton and winning worlds. It was a really cool thing. I'm kind of curious, like do you think you guys like relaxed too much after that? Because season 9 I feel like you guys didn't start off the best, and go like the 2 years before that you guys were always one of the best regular season teams. It was very unlike you guys.
yeah. I think complacency is probably the word. Like
Mhm.
we get like we think it's funny because like when you win wars, it's so troll. Like one day, like that after party after you win, you are literally done of the war, and the next day it's just normal, like back to normal. Like no, I mean
Yep.
people are gonna remember, but like at the end of the day, like no one cares that you actually won. It's like these like
Yeah.
2 or 3 days after you won that it's like, oh my god, he actually won like the biggest tournament of the game, and then after that you are like normal. And I think we after, I mean, because they happened to me twice, because that was Levi's next year, like we won, we stayed together, and that feels miserable. And then Kings next year, same thing, we won, we stayed
Yep.
together, and that was miserable too. So if I learn anything, is that maybe staying together after winning wars is not the best thing that you can do, even though like you feel like you're the best team, after you winning. Like you feel like, oh bro, I'm like, we're the best, you're just gonna like be together again, and it's gonna happen again. But
Yeah.
like those like fierce months after winning, like people
Hard.
like in general, even myself, like get like complacency about like don't like try enough, or like take it like more chill, like you say, Mike. So then we are like not ready for, because like all these teams that lost, they like have like that strive to like I want to beat this team. Like this
Yeah.
team they are the world champs, so I want to
You
do
have a
anything
target
in
on
my
your back the
power.
whole year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna do everything to like stop these guys. And even though it might sound troll, like surely teams like even try hard against like the current like world champs. Like they feel
Of course, they take
like
like prep more seriously, like
yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like so, we actually need to beat these guys, and in the meantime, we're like, yeah, we're like, just like take it chill. We're like, I mean, like, that's a little bit like the Steven way in that sense. That when it comes to like the whole year, he doesn't try hard as much as he do when it comes to wars time.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, yeah, that's the way. I think I don't know. It's weird actually, because we always joke about that, like saying that he doesn't try, and it comes to wars. But I feel like when it mattered the most, he's always gonna be there. But then, like the whole, at least for us, that was an issue for us. I remember because
Well,
at least, sorry, but at least like Panitom, he always wanted to like win, for example. So he always try hard, no matter like who he's playing against. I think that's one
yeah.
of the that he has. So like I remember that year I mean, sorry, or about to say anything.
No. I'm just agreeing with you. Keep
Oh,
going. Dude,
okay.
this is your time. You roll.
Okay,
Talk right
okay.
over
So
us.
yeah, so like Paddington that year, remember, he wanted like to win anything, and he feel like, for example, like Steven sometimes he doesn't like give it his like 100%. Like for example, we're always gonna joke about this, but when it comes to like practice, and you actually try to like scream, the Steven you see on the screams is not gonna be the same one that you see on game day, and that's crazy because like for example, if it's like getting like camp or invaded, he hates that. Like he doesn't like that. But and then it becomes like practice a little bit miserable because like the team like try to like invade a purple buff, for example, and Steven is like, "Yo, where is this guy again?" and stuff like that, and tries like to complain. And then it comes to a point where, like, for example, the enemy this is like so fed because we try to like defend purple that we shouldn't defend, and that on like game day or like tournament time, he's not gonna be there dying for that buff. But because he screams, he cannot lose that purple buff, So he needs to be there to defend that purple buff like with his life. And we always joke about it. I remember Oxy saying that purple buff is more important than your Titan. Okay, so you cannot let them take the purple buff.
I love
Uh,
that.
yeah, so that year practice was like not the best for us. We literally, I think we took it more chill than we used to, and we start like losing a bunch. And when you start losing a bunch, you start like questioning stuff about like then people say that maybe we need a change, maybe we need
Yeah.
this and that, and I remember that year. I mean, the change was me, but it was not because how we were playing. We have like some like personal stuff that happened. I talked to you about it, Mike. Remember?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, we went to like eat and talk about it. So we have like a like internal discussion as a team, and they decided that the best team in order for them to like grow and like get in a better like team position, it was like kicking me. And I remember back then I said, guys, I respect the decision. That's fine. Of course, I mean I didn't feel that way. I remember I felt that night I felt like so lost because I just like I kind of lost my job, I guess. So I was like not sure what to do after that because I don't know if it's gonna sound like rude, but I didn't wanted to like join Bolts, like do like the trade because they got Hadix from Bolts to Levi's,
Yeah.
and the like most obvious thing is like I talked to the Bolts guys. I fast for me to like go join to Bolts, but then at the time, I remember the Scaras asked me to play support. And at that time, it sounds like more fun to me or more like challenging that just like because for me personally, I don't like want to go to a team and be like a role player. Like I just don't want to be on a team. I just play solo lane. I wanted if I'm going to a team, I gonna try my hardest to like make it a better team. Like try to like maybe teach them a few things that I know, or maybe learn from them too, and literally like work as a unit in order to even just win like a normal season game. It doesn't have to be like this big thing of like winning absolutely everything, like being unbeatable and all that, but like to like grow. I feel like, and back then I feel like if I join two balls, I'm just gonna like play solo and do my job. That's what I feel. Well,
Yeah.
that's how I felt back then. So that's why I talked to Sam. I remember Sam was the one that messaged me on Twitter, and I said, "Yeah, I would love to like play support on Scarabs." I remember I have to move houses. That was so troll.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I mean,
yeah,
you said so many like really great things in there. I want to pick up on. I think like the first thing is like I think Aurora and I had very similar experiences where we both won worlds and like our team environments, I don't think they were like necessarily horrible, but like, every team has their issues,
yeah,
right? And something I had learned after season 4 was like when we went into season 5, we still had, issues. We all like playing with each other, but it's not even like sometimes it's like the individual complacency. Like you do get people like Zap who are like a little bit like we can just call it like lazier in scrims, like he's still really smart, he's still a really good player, but
yeah,
he's not like laser focused the same way. And I feel like even if it's not an individual thing, like I feel like complacency can also show up with like critiquing each other. So like let's say it's in the case of Zap, for example, like it's hard for you guys to sit there every single day and be like, Zap, you got to stop doing this dumb stuff in scrims because like he knows better as well. And
yeah.
you also believe in him, like when it's important, Zap is going to make the right play. So it kind of creates this culture of complacency where like nobody brings it up because that they know better, but then you're still like kind of like sabotaging your practice in a way, so it becomes really hard to improve at other things that are important to you. Um, and I remember thinking like for you guys and when we had talked, like the thing that always stood out to me about you guys was like just how passionate and how like hard all of you were. Cause I remember like I'm not gonna obviously like say what we talked about a ton, but I remember like one of the things that you had said to me like multiple times when you were telling me about it was like how much you like loved your job and you like felt lost because you didn't know like do you go back home, do you join another team, like you weren't sure how you were feeling. And I feel like a player like you and like the work ethic that you have and like being as obviously like good and smart of a player as you are, I felt like a lot of people were surprised like when you ended up choosing the Scarabs over the Bolts, but I feel like in a way it also like highlighted some of like the best things about you as a player, which is like you are a very good like team player, you're very flexible with like what roles you can play, what characters you can play and all of that. And it's funny to think about like how things would have ended up, if it went a different way, because I think like it's very rare that roster changes end up like working out for both sides, but they probably needed to change to like give them a bit of a kick in the butt to like get their motivation back. And I think for you, like that change ultimately ended up to you like joining the Kings, right? Because you guys ended up picking up Herwin in support and you moved to ADC. Because I think was it Royd got kicked, right? Royd had gotten. Wait, no, what happened
Yeah,
to?
We
Oh, it was
got
Stu. Stu got
yeah,
taken by the Titans. That's
we got
right.
two
yeah,
because I remember it's funny. Benji was our coach at the time, and we ended up like Cyclone just wasn't working out with like layers and Sot. Like it was just not. It was like they were not gonna last till the end of the year playing with Cyclone, so that's why we ended up replacing him. Um, and Sot really liked teaming with Stu before, and I think Layers also liked the idea of getting Stu to the team, so that's why we ended up picking him up. But I remember Benji kept saying, "You guys should just get Yark. You guys should really get Yark." So we almost asked you, but I think Dot was really adamant in wanting to play with Stu again, so that's why we ended up going with that. So we almost asked you as well, like when we did the roster change as well. So it's just funny to think about back that season. That was a crazy year for
That
me as
was a nuts like period
yeah,
of roster changes.
that was crazy for me. I moved
yeah.
house twice that year. I have to like, and it's funny because I mean I'm new to a country, so I actually have no idea how to move. So I remember like asking people like, oh, you need to like get a U-Haul, you need to like rent the car, like get someone to drive it, and you just pack everything. I was like, oh yeah. So I remember, and it was so troll because that I remember when I left the Sanguine house, I remember everyone was asleep. So it was literally me, it was Pete, and it was Boronic, Brendan, that literally helped me move. Because all of the other boys were literally they asleep. Like I didn't even say goodbye to them when I left that house. I remember I was like so troll.
That sounds pretty troll.
Yeah, it
That
is.
that sounds like the classic Sanguine boys a little bit though.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I'm curious about, you end up going through that process and I'm kind of curious, like what you thought about your time on the Scarabs, and then what ultimately ended up with you joining the Kings. Because once you joined the Kings, was it like 15 straight sets or something you guys won, and like all the way through Worlds and into the next year, like you guys were just owning everybody.
Yeah, so when I get to Scarabs, I feel like that's one of the years that I learn a lot. Like as have to like work with people because I mean it will sound like troll, but I that year I worked with like 15 different, more even more like 18 different people. So I get to actually know how other people like work culture is. So like for example, we were on the Sanguine guys, and for example, like being late there, it was like a joke, you know. When you come to other teams, I remember even Pete always like joke about it, but like when if you are late there, you probably have to like for example put like $5 on a jar every time you're late, for example, you know, like trying to like encourage you to actually be on time, things like
Hmm.
that, for example. So I come to that Scarab's team, and I was like playing a new role, but at the same time I feel like I, even though we like didn't like win, I think we were close to like beating a few teams, but I didn't think we win a game. But I feel like we were this close to actually like, you know, when you're like crossing that line in
Yeah.
order to know how to win as a team, because that's so important. I feel like enough people talk about it. We were that close to actually cross the line, and it's so troll because we were with the Stu at the time, and I feel like we're like actually getting better and better as a five. And then we come to, I remember one day, and then Stu said, "Oh guys, I think I'm just gonna leave." I mean, he doesn't say it like that. He think that he got an offer, and I think he's better.
Right.
And everyone is always like, you know, you always should do what is better for you, what you think is better for you, like no resentment, like no like bad feelings or anything. You just do what is better. But I remember, but that time it was like, for me it was like fuck. We were like so close to actually feel like we actually kind of like win games and maybe like surprise a team or something like that. And then like we have, I feel like you kind of have to like start over again because
Yeah.
like it comes to like new player, like all the things is a little bit different. And then we started like working again. I remember it was Tyler. I remember Snoopy. I started talking with Snoopy there because he was like our coach too, back then. And we were like relearning again each other, like know how everyone works. Uh, but I feel like me as a player, personally, I learned a lot from that experience. That year, I never expected to even join another team. I think it comes to a point that I said, you know, I will play with the Scarabs until it's over, you know, till the year is over. Then I will see what I'm gonna do, if like I'm gonna keep playing, if I will try to get on a different team, if I'm just going back home, or what I'm gonna do. uh, and then it was so funny because because I get a call from genetics from Sam, and he's asking me if I will join the Kings, but he's not like fully sure. So he's probably, if I have to guess, is he wanted a change, but he
Yeah.
hasn't spoke to the team yet. So he just like testing the waters if I really wanted to join. I said, yeah, why not? Yeah, sure, I will join. And then I think like 2 or 3 days later, I talked to all of them, and they tried to like explain me the situation. And it's funny because I feel like it's like the same thing that happened to Roy happened that King's year two again, when he comes to like doing like the same like bad habits that will make you a team not be as good as you can be. Because these, like for example, I always see teams like an engine, you know, like everyone need to be doing something in order to actually win. But then one thing like doesn't do what he needs supposed to be doing, or even more, then you actually feel that, you know, for example, yeah, this side of the map is not as strong as it used to be. Like we are gonna lose duo side, for example. That's at least a little bit what Sam told me. And
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, it was like the same thing the Sanguine year. And that's when they asked me to join. And I said, yeah, sure, I will do it. And that was a whole like new experience too, because it's probably true, but like American culture and like European culture is still like different, you
Oh,
know,
it's
from each
very
other.
different. It's
It
different
is
for sure.
it is different. So like I started like working with like Ben, with Harvey, and all of them that are from the UK. And it's like even some words was like different the way they say it. So me, for someone that you have like
Their
like
humor,
normal English,
everything is different, dude.
yeah,
All
yeah,
of it,
yeah,
yeah.
it is. So I came to a new team to like learn how actually they work too, and it was like crazy that year. But I always find it fun, and I felt that year, that the Scarabs, Levi's, and Kings year, I feel like was the year that I actually grew up like as a person, like so much. Like I feel like I'm like I'm 25 now, but I feel like mentally I'm like, I don't know, 40 maybe. Yeah,
Um, really quick, I want to ask you, what do you think of support? How long did you play it? Like a month, like 2 months?
I play like 2 months, I think, of support, and I think I don't know, it's weird. Like I think the role is fun, but I feel like it's like so limited of what actually can you do, or like for example, like they can always like be really good at like leading people around. But when you're, I think it's probably the same as solo. At least I feel the same as solo. When you're playing a tank role, you feel like you're playing like with a time limit, of how
Yeah,
powerful you are.
for
So
sure.
like you'll have like 20, 25 minutes of like glory, and then after that you are like, oh my god, what I'm doing, I'm just like a mid chill. Like I know I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
I
you're like
like
trying to like put
yeah,
everyone else in the best position you can, and then you're
yeah,
like praying that they take advantage of it. You're like hoping that like
exactly.
they take it to the finish
Yeah.
line.
Because even though like you could be like really good at that role, but if like your team is not like capitalizing of the space you're creating as a tank player,
Yeah.
it feels like you're like useless. Like how are we losing this fight? Things like that will happen. So yeah,
Dude,
I
that was
always found it
something I
fun.
used to say when I was like new was like you'd play games like that where you feel like you're owning and you're like, how do we lose that fight? Like I use my relic so well. That's another one thing to tilt your teammates like, guys, what did you
Yeah,
do that fight? I did so much.
yeah.
That's interesting though. I feel like it kind of became, I mean, I don't know how, if Aurora, if you had anything about like the king swap and everything like that, I guess first before I keep going.
No, I thought you guys were just really good from the start as well. I feel like it was funny. We were all um I remember my team was like, "Oh my god, the same thing's happening to Netroid again." Poor Netroid.
Yeah.
It's literally the same thing. Is crazy though, but it worked out both times really well. I mean, if you want to win worlds, that's one recipe, I guess, to do it.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
worked out both years.
people always hate on me, like redditors love the whole like roster change stuff, but I do just think like there's always like, people who get the crappy end of it, especially like, sometimes like it's just like an environment change, like kind of like you said, hardcore, like when you had gotten kicked from the Levi's, it's not like that you're feeding every game and like playing horribly. It's just sometimes like things happen or you just need to shake up the team. And I feel like there's always like kind of tragedies along with it. But at the end of the day, like everyone is going to be happier and everyone's going to be more successful if you're making decisions that are like, in the case of like Stu, for example, or you leaving the scarabs that are like best for yourself, or the other way around, if you're trying to like kick a person, you're not like doing it because you hate them, you're doing it because you're trying to do what you think you have to win. And I feel like when you had joined that Kings team, that was a really, I mean, I know like we talked to Gen X about it last week a little bit, like that was a really big thing for them because at the times they were struggling with the Titans like the past couple years, and then we had just beaten them in a tournament like after we had picked up Scream. So they like, from their perspective, they had like a couple teams that they felt like they were struggling to beat, and I think they felt like Netroid for whatever reason was like a part of their struggles, and then I feel like it gave them a lot of confidence where like you guys weren't just like okay in duo lane, like you guys were one of the better duo lanes, like you would win through your side of the map a lot, like it was kind of funny because every time you've gone back to ADC without playing it for a little bit, you're just like owning everybody, like you'll get solo kills, all that type of stuff. I remember I was actually watching Twig. He like streamed after they picked you guys up, and I remember that he was like, "Oh yeah, like I went and watched every single like SPL game, and I was trying to watch like all the ADCs to like figure out if we should actually make a change or not." And he was like, "Guys, like Hardcore is actually the best ADC in the league," and he's on like at that time you guys were 7th, 8th place, whatever it was. Um, and it's kind of funny because like there were a lot of parallels with that flowed even into this year because that's how I felt about Coast. I felt like we needed to make a change. I didn't know what the change like was supposed to be, and I started like watching a bunch of different players to like think about it and like try to even like think about like do I like what change is even right? Am I wrong? Like do we even need a change? And like I remember watching all of Coast Games, and like exactly what Twig said is how I thought. I was like, this guy is like outplaying everybody, and his team's just not winning, but it's like not his fault necessarily, or I don't know. I think we're allowed to talk about it because genetics brought it up too, but like it almost happened a third time with Metroid this year, didn't it? Like, didn't you guys talk a little bit about it? You don't have to say if you don't want to, but I think genetics touched on it a very small amount.
Yeah, I mean, Oxy told me like recently that they thought about it again, but they didn't, it never ended up happening because they, I don't know, feel like maybe it wasn't like meant to be. But they actually told Oxy told me. I remember like before leaving to Wars,
Hmm.
we went to like eat together, like to get dinner. And he was actually telling me that he was like this close to actually ask me again if I want to play for them.
That's so
And,
funny. I mean,
and
fortunately for Royd, I thought he had a really good Worlds. I
he
thought I
plays
thought
sick.
Royd
He
owned.
plays
He
sick.
played so
Yeah,
sick.
he played really well at Wars.
He
Yeah,
played really good. Yep.
I was actually proud of him too. Yeah.
Yeah, he farmed. Yeah.
Um, the
Oh, go
one
ahead,
thing I
Aurora.
want to bring up is it is crazy. I feel like it's only happened twice, and you could even maybe only once. That's why every world championship besides I think season 3 and season 7, there's been a roster change. Basically go before the split happened. Like season 1, it was like Dare to Care for Jeff Hinla. Like they like COG got Jeff Hinla. Season 2, well,
Raffer was banned
Rapper
technically.
was banned. Yeah, there was a. th- I don't know if they did a roster, so maybe season 2
They
as
were just like a
well.
new team, pretty much. Yeah.
Maybe season 2 as well. So I guess season 2, season 4, it was Chaos for Ven. Season 5, Best for Maswal. Um, season 6, I guess season 6 is another team that didn't make any, I guess too, right? Yeah, they didn't make any. Um, and then season 7, they got Fred, but they stayed together the whole year. Um, season 8 was Zapman. Season 9 was Yark, and then um, season 10 was Coast. So it's crazy to think. I guess if you want to go back to back, the formula is you got to stick with the same team from the get go, win with that team, and then that'll carry over for the next year or something. So if you guys are trying to write a formula to win, maybe that's how it's done.
It
Because
really is funny, like the I guess like the pattern with that, because I don't know, like I just think it really is a big thing, like that doesn't get talked about enough, is like bringing energy into a team environment is like one of the most infectious things you could do. Like if you feel like your teammates like really want to be there and they're locked in and they're like very supportive, like they want to get better, they want to help you get better, like when you have that sort of environment, I feel like everything just like kind of fixes itself, because like you get out of that mode where like maybe people are like they want to say something but they like hold it back because they're just like having a bad day or they're frustrated, but like once everybody has a lot of motivation, I feel like that's kind of what roster changes create, is like you get this like sort of like people call it like a honeymoon phase, but I feel like it's not even a honeymoon phase of like, oh, everything is so great, we're all so happy. I feel like the actual honeymoon phase is that you feel like you can all like criticize each other and no one's taking it personally because everyone just knows like we're all here because like we believe in each other and like we want to try our best to win. And I feel like you get a lot better in that sort of stretch. I did want to talk about as well, hardcore. Is it kind of is it cooler to you because you're one of a few people who have won twice? Is it cooler to you that you did it in two different roles because you're the only one who's done that, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's
That
not
makes
that
you the role swap king, no? It makes you the role swap king.
I guess, but at least for me, when it comes to like changing roles, it's not like because I talk about it with Sam that year that we won, and he told me that I should win one in every single role. And I was like, I don't think that's how it works because, like, for example, when I play solo because my team needed me to play solo. And for example, on Scarabs, I came to play support and I was happy to play support the whole year and ended up having to play ADC again. And then someone asked me to play ADC on a different team. I feel like all these things just like literally just happen. It's not like I really want to be this like multi-role machine. I feel like it's just there. I feel like I put like enough hours to like actually play enough gods. I to play like the game a lot, and I'm just happy to like to be I guess that good to
Yeah.
play like all these gods and all these roles and understand the game that way. In order that you have to play this or that, I will try to do it at a really high level. So and it's funny because we next year that year the Kings year, I don't know if even Sam pointed out, but Big Man was no sure if we're gonna play next year. He was
Yeah.
super like yeah, so it was a war when we talk to Ghost and I go to meet. So that will be funny. Like if that year we have that like same Kings like roster with like Variety, Biggie, Twig, and it's gonna be like me, Meat, and Ghost ADC with Genetics. That will be like one of the rosters that could have happened, but he ended up saying that he's gonna be playing again, and we just stick together. But yeah, that would have been funny for
I feel
sure.
like it's so funny because I don't want to like leak too much behind the scenes stuff, but
I don't
I
think it
don't think
matters.
Twig would care because Twig just doesn't normally care about stuff like that. But I remember we had beaten you guys. It was like the spring tournament of last year. We like played you guys in the corners and we had beaten you, and that's when you guys were about to have the like Genetics was going to join the Warriors or whatever. And I remember like talking to Twig outside after that, and you could just like tell that you guys like weren't having a good time and like you felt like you needed to change. And I remember Twig had said something about like, yeah, honestly, like I don't care like whether they kick me or whether someone else leaves, but like we just need to change. Like the team environment's just not good. Like we just need to change. And I feel like I had also heard a rumor about like you playing jungler at some point, but I feel like because you are so good at other roles, you're just like the Swiss Army knife. People just are like, oh, we have hardcore. You can play anything. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I actually remember a little bit of that. I think like the idea like at that time was I don't know, I don't remember what or exactly why, but it was like I think we I think Genetics wanted to play with Lasbra. I think
Hmm.
he brought it up at the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
but we ended up still playing with Ben. And then it comes to a point, but I feel like Genetics feel like he could have not win uh, with that roster, so he got an offer and he leave and whatever. So we literally like took like multiple like roster idea that we could have done, but we just ended up picking up a support at the time that was quick and but yeah, I actually I remember a little bit of that. Yeah.
Um, I remember at the beginning of year two going back about how you're saying Coast almost played with you guys. I think poor Coast, was like on iteration of like every team because we were talking about maybe playing with Coast as well. I think Mike, you'd have talked to him as
Yeah.
well because Coast was telling me that you talked to him as well. He's like, all these teams are talking to me, but no one wants me. He's like,
Yeah.
everybody is just pushing me aside. But yeah, um,
He made sure to bring that up a lot. Like when I had actually played with him, he brought it up all the time because it was like maybe the thing with like the Kings roll swap, and then it was you. And I remember like at the very start of like the roster changes, I didn't know like what I wanted to do or who was gonna stick together. And the only two ADCs I'd really talked to much were like Cyclone, if he didn't play with you guys, and then I had talked to Coast, and those were like the two available ones. And then Cyclone joined, and then I ended up joining like the Dardas, like Nika vote trio. And Coast would always bring that up to me after we made the change. He's like, I think the first time I messaged him, he's like, "Oh, you've turned me down twice, and now you're crawling back," or something like that. He loves it. It was so funny.
but yeah. I have a question for you, Yark. I guess it's like not super related. This might could be a little bit, but does your brother play? Do you ever play games with your brother? Is he in any games or no? Even just for
Uh,
fun?
no, not really. It's so funny because when I leave, I barely speak with him because I remember back then I have like dealing with so like personal stuff that I didn't really wanted to like get homesick. So I literally locked in to play Smite. That was like my escape route, I guess, to just don't like try to like overthink about like family or like going back. So we literally like we a little bit like distant above each other these like 3 4 years, so we like never like actually play games or do stuff together. We're trying now, but like we barely do. I think I don't even know what he plays actually. I think he plays League. I don't think
Oh,
he plays
nice.
Smite.
Oh,
Yeah, I
cool.
think he plays League, but no, I think we have never actually played games with each other.
And then I have another. So, was for your name like Yarkor? Is it supposed to be like hardcore? Is that what it was going for, or was it just like how was it? Because I feel like everybody's like has said your name differently, like from the
Yeah.
beginning, and it's kind of just evolved into like Yarkor, like or Yark. That's what everybody calls you. Like, what was like your? What was the? How were you meant to say your name at the beginning, like when you made it?
It's probably gonna be like people saying now, like hardcore, like hardcore. Yeah,
Hardcore, yeah, okay.
hardcore. Yeah,
Hardcore,
and the
cool.
name come is not. I mean, I remember trying to like get a nickname, like username, and I just literally like remember like googling like cool like nicknames, in Google, and there is like a big list, and I saw this one with it used to be like Mister Hardcore before, like X like YMR Hardcore. But I mean, I ended up changing up. Like I like took the M away, put half the X, and then I ended up like adding 3 R's because it looked like cleaner, and that's what it is right now. It used to have like three different ways to say it, but right now we use hardcore. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Y-
Um. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
No. You're good. You're good.
No, you're good.
Dude, I was gonna
I don't
say.
know what I was gonna say. I
Oh,
forgot.
okay. I have a bad habit of I'll still. I feel like I call everybody so many different names, like, and I'll just randomly alternate between using like I'll call you Aurora sometimes. I'll call you like Max. I don't know why I switch, but I just switch. Like, I remember Snoopy started to call you Yark the Shark, so then like Yarkor is still stuck with me because I was just like used to saying that, even though I knew your name. I've known your name like is supposed to be hardcore. I'm just like, yep, that's the shark, dude. It's Yark the Shark.
Do you like that nickname that you
Yeah,
got? I
I
like
do,
it.
I do too. And it's so funny because I remember, I think I have it somewhere.
Is it
But I
the shark
remember,
stuffed
yeah,
animal?
but like when we won, this is what from a fan from Wars, they give me this like little shark.
Oh,
That's
Uh,
awesome.
and when we won the Levi's year, Biggie gave me a shark from the movie for Jaws, the movie. Uh, and it was so funny because he like won it on Blockbuster. He won it from like a slot machine, and he actually gave me a shark. I don't think I have it somewhere. I don't know where
that's
it's.
awesome.
Yeah. So there is like a shark there around.
Nice. Um, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that like we didn't bring up off the top of your head? If not, it's all good.
Yeah,
Talked
this
about a
guy.
bunch of stuff.
Oh,
That's
dude, that guy
awesome.
owns.
Yeah, it's from the movie too. So
I think that was the one you had. You brought. I remember you used to bring one to the studio with you a lot of the games,
yeah,
right?
this one. This one.
Yeah. Yeah, I
He
remember.
was always on my backpack. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like a Lucky Charm.
yeah,
We're okay. We're under NDA, so a little careful with this question as always. But have you played any of like the Smite 2 playtests? Like, how are you feeling about that? And kind of like this year's a transition. I know you mentioned that you're gonna go back to school in the fall. I guess.
Yeah, I will try to. And yeah, so I have played Smite 2, and I've been liking it. I've been enjoying.
Nice.
I've been enjoying the way the game is looking. I feel like he's still like an early phase, like it's like super like baby Smite. I will call it that. But I really like the way they're going with things, and I feel like it looks cool. And I will definitely will try to play it like professionally if there is a scene to play. So I will try to be there because one thing that I always said that I feel like I don't know why I feel like I'm the only one. Like for example, when I talk to Chinto and Rongu, and it comes to like Smite, they feel like they. I mean, at least for example, I talk a lot with Chinto, and he feels like he barely plays the game, and he just do it when because it's like approaching. At least for me, I enjoy rank, I enjoy casuals, I enjoy like playing the game outside of just like practice. And I know there is like a bunch of people that doesn't see it that way, that they just like only scream and they maybe play the game because they stream too. So
Yeah.
because if it wasn't like because they stream or they're like pro, they probably like doesn't enjoy it enough. Maybe because like you played the same game for like I don't know, maybe almost a decade, like 10 years of playing Smite, and maybe you don't enjoy it as much as you used to do. So it's like you become like your job. But at least for me, I still have fun playing the game. Like I could like go to a ranked con because I literally enjoy like just hanging around, just like even if we're like hard losing the game, I just don't care. I'm just I will try to win and all that. So for me, I will be try to be there for Smite 2 if there is.
Yeah, I feel like in my like healthier like relationships with playing Smite, because like I mean, you guys definitely know what it's like. Because when you like, if you're like double blocking scrims like all the time before a tournament, like it gets really draining. Like it's really easy to get burnt out. And I feel like what I notice when I have the most fun is like I kind of like go in spurts. Like lately, I haven't been playing as much, but like it just like I still read like the patch notes. It just takes one change where I'm like, oh, that looks really fun, and then like you always have like I always have fun just like playing ranked or playing with friends or whatever for a couple weeks and just going back and forth. And I think it feels like a little weird, honestly, because I get what like I understand like every pro player has a bit of a different perspective about like how much they want to play or don't want to play right now. And it's really different to go from like a normal scrim schedule and taking the game really seriously and being like very like maybe like analytical is the word about like, oh, what's the best, like what should we play, that type of stuff, to like just actually focusing on having fun is like a really important thing I feel like that people take for granted.
Yeah, I feel like it's been weird for me too. Like I love the game still. I always have fun when I play. I've just taken a break, I guess, like the last
Yeah.
couple weeks. I was losing my mind in ranked. I lost 800 MMR. I was not happy, so I
I,
needed a little bit of break.
I feel like this season ranked I feel weird for me. I don't know why. Like it's not like the same maybe because there is not like pro scene maybe. But like I feel like it's like I don't know, it's like harder for me to feel like to win games. I don't know. I don't know if I'm me like being like washed, me like missing like needing a scream should like actually be better. I don't know.
Yeah, I was having a hard time too. So you're not the
Yeah,
only one.
yeah.
Oh man. But I still love the game. Like I love playing with my friends who like don't play competitively at all, and like they're not good. They say so themselves all the time. Like I've grown up with them. I've known them, like some of them, for like 20 plus years. And playing with them is always a good time because it's always like you get to see the other perspective of like someone who hasn't have as much hours in the game but still likes playing, and it's just a good time all around. But it's a good game. Like that's the thing with people always. I feel like Smite doesn't get a fair enough shot from like everybody on the outside that like looks at it. I feel like because it's such a great game. So I'm hoping with Smite 2, like people will actually give Smite like a more of a shot, like when Smite 2 comes out. Because I know a lot of people get turned off like instantly by like how the UI looks and stuff in the game. But like I feel like once you get in a game and you're playing, it is just a fun game. Like it's crazy that more people haven't given it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like anything else you guys wanted to touch on?
No, thank you so much, Shark. Unless you had something
Me?
that you
I
wanted to,
don't.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
I have nothing to say. Thank you, guys, for inviting me.
Yeah, it
On
was a lot of
on
fun.
back.
It's honestly it's so fun to like reminisce on some of this older stuff because like yeah, I don't know, it's just like it's crazy how even like you're not like a new player, but like within the frame of like the SPL, right? It was only like season 7 through 10, but like just how much has like happened in those years and everything. It's always cool to like go back and remember like some of those things and yeah, so it was a pleasure, sometimes not a pleasure playing against you, Ark. More often not a pleasure. But yeah, no, thank you for hopping on. For
Where
anyone who
can they
wants to
find
find
you? Where
yeah,
can
for
they
anyone
find Yark?
yeah.
Where's your Twitch? What's your Twitch and like Twitter and everything? Plug yourself.
Yeah, like if you wanna follow me on Twitter, my handle is here, xyarcore, and I've been streaming lately too, and I always like tweeted about it. But I mean, my Twitch is hardcore with 3 R's, and I think that the two only social media that I actually use. So yeah, you
But
guys can find me there too. I probably will be streaming a little bit later today, and like during the week, I'm trying to be consistent again on that. It's always hard for me to do so, but we try.
You've been
That's what
pretty
it matters.
consistent recently.
Yeah, yeah.
I was saying before the podcast, Hardcore got me in trouble because he like I was watching him stream last night before I went to bed, and he hosted somebody who hosted another person who hosted another person, and ended up hosting like a just chatting streamer, and like their profile picture like was showing a lot of cleavage. I like turn on my computer monitor and that's what pops up, and my girlfriend Leah's like, "What are you watching there?" And it was just so funny. It wasn't like really his fault, but it just like ended up that way. But yeah, you've been pretty consistent, so people should definitely, if you're not following him, go check him out. You
Yeah.
also get the benefit of watching you that you, like you said, you've been playing mid recently, but you do just tend to
Yeah.
play whatever. So no matter what
Yeah.
role you like, you end up getting to just watch good Smite.
You'll
Yeah,
probably
I'm
see
playing.
some whale if you check his stream out because he needs to get him to rank 10.
And some nude eventually, right?
Yeah, I will try to get them to rank 10 now. I feel like I'm being consistent too because there is like no like wave of like pro like having to scream and all that.
Yeah.
Because before I always feel like you always feel this way when I feel like I'm more like a professional player that trying to like create content and try to like just make money that way, I guess. I always wanted to just be as good as a pro player as I can be. And I feel like streaming sometimes can get on the way of that. Maybe it's different. Maybe that's the way I see it, but at least for me, I always found it hard to try to stream back then. But right now I have the free time, so I'm trying it now.
Awesome. And then, where can we find us, Mike? You can find us on both of our Twitches right now. The YouTube Travelers Proc, and then, what's the Spotify? It's Smite podcast, correct?
Yeah, something like that. They changed it. I goofed on that one because it used to be inside the SPL. Oh no,
Yeah,
Billy's gonna get mad at me.
They're gonna. Yeah, I think it's called Smite. It's Smite podcast. Pull it up.
Yeah, I'm fine as well. But yeah, thanks again, Hardcore. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll have the links to everything. His Twitter, his Twitch, all of that will be in the bio for anyone who's listening to this later on. But yeah.
Yeah, it's Smite podcast on Spotify. That's where you can find it if you're looking for it on Spotify. And then you can catch it on either one of our Twitch channels, me or PBMs. Well, also, if we have guests on in the future, they're more than welcome. And then also our YouTube channel is new, Traveler's Proc. It pop up. But yeah, thank you again, Yark, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Hope you have a good
have a good one, everybody. Bye.
Bye.